Tae-ho Kim stood in line with 50 other humans. They waited to board the transport ship that would take them to Outpost Sigma-7. The metal walls of the spaceport felt cold and unfriendly. Tae-ho tried not to show his nerves. "Next!" shouted a blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes. The alien wore the gold and black uniform of the Galactic Alliance. "Name and skill set." "Tae-ho Kim, sir." "Basic combat training and mechanical repair," Tae-ho said, standing straighter. The alien looked at him with all 4 eyes and laughed. "Another human who thinks they can fix things." He stamped Tae-ho's papers without looking at them. "Go to loading bay 3 and don't touch anything on the ship." Tae-ho grabbed his small bag and walked away. This was not the welcome he had hoped for when he volunteered. Humans had only joined the Galactic Alliance 50 years ago. Most aliens still saw them as primitive and emotional, not good enough for important jobs. On the transport ship, Tae-ho sat alone. The other aliens, tall ones with scales, short ones with too many arms, stayed away from the human section. Only one alien with gray skin and large eyes sat nearby. "First time off Earth?" the alien asked in perfect English. "Yes," Tae-ho answered. "I'm Tae-ho." "I'm Zal. I work in communications at Sigma-7. Zal's large eyes blinked slowly. "Why did you join?" Tae-ho looked out the window at the stars. "To make a difference. Earth needs allies. I want to help." Zal made a sound like small bells. It was laughter. "Noble. But prepare yourself. Humans aren't given important work at first. The Alliance doesn't trust you yet." The trip took 3 days. When they arrived at Outpost Sigma-7, Tae-ho saw a massive space station floating above a small moon. The station looked like a metal wheel with spokes coming out of it. Hundreds of ships moved around it like busy insects. After landing, a human officer met the new recruits. Her uniform had 3 silver bars on the shoulder. Her name tag read, Commander Yoon. "Welcome to Sigma-7, she said. Her voice was firm but not unkind. "I'm Commander Yoon, head of human personnel. You're here because the Alliance needs more hands, but you must earn respect. It won't be given freely." The new recruits were shown to their quarters, small rooms with 4 beds each. Tae-ho shared with 3 other human men. They had 1 hour to unpack before reporting for duty assignments. The next morning, Tae-ho and the other new humans stood in a line. Alien officers walked by, picking recruits for different jobs. The tallest aliens were chosen first, then the ones with technical skills. Tae-ho waited hopefully, but no one called his name. At the end, only 5 humans remained, including Tae-ho. "You 5 will handle station maintenance," said a small green alien with a tablet. "Cleaning, waste disposal, basic repairs." Tae-ho's heart sank. He had trained for months to qualify for space service. Now he would be cleaning toilets. For the next week, Tae-ho worked long hours. He cleaned the mess hall, fixed broken pipes, and emptied trash into the station's recyclers. Work was hard and boring. Other recruits, the alien ones, trained with weapons and learned to operate the station's defense systems. One evening, while cleaning the research wing, Tae-ho noticed a door left slightly open. The sign on it read, "Restricted Area, Authorized. Personnel only," in 6 different languages. He knew he shouldn't look inside, but curiosity won. The room was dark except for a blue light in the corner. Tae-ho stepped inside carefully. The room was filled with broken machine parts and tools. In the center was a large metal table. On it lay what looked like a robot dog. The machine was the size of a large earth dog, maybe a German shepherd. Its metal body was scratched and dented. A small screen on its side flashed red with the words, "Decommission scheduled." Tae-ho moved closer. The robot dog had 4 strong legs, a flexible neck, and a head with sensor panels where eyes would be. What caught Tae-ho's attention was the tail, a long metal appendage now lying still. Next to the table was a computer tablet. Tae-ho picked it up and read, K9 Unit 773, Combat and Reconnaissance Model. Status, failed. Unit shows unpredictable behavior, and does not follow programming parameters. Recommended action, complete disassembly. Taeho looked at the robot dog again. Failed. It didn't look broken, just unused. On impulse, he reached out and touched its head. "Hello there," he said softly. Nothing happened. The machine stayed still. Taeho went back to his cleaning but kept glancing at the robot dog. An hour later, as he was finishing up, he decided to say goodbye to it. "I have to go now," he told the silent machine. "They probably won't let me in here again. Shame they're taking you apart. You look like you could still be useful." As Taeho turned to leave, he heard a small sound. A whirring noise, like gears turning. He looked back. The robot dog's tail had moved. Just a small twitch, but definitely a movement. Taeho rushed back to the table. "You can hear me?" he whispered. The tail twitched again. The sensor panels on its head glowed faintly. For the next hour, Taeho talked to the machine. He told it about Earth, about his home and new soul, about his reasons for joining the Alliance. The more he talked, the more the machine responded. Small movements at first, then more. By the end of his shift, the robot dog had lifted its head and was watching him. "I'll come back tomorrow," Taeho promised as he left. The next night, Taeho returned to the research wing. He brought tools from maintenance and some spare parts he had found. The robot dog was exactly as he had left it, but its sensors lit up when Taeho entered the room. "I'm back," he said, putting down his tools. "I thought maybe I could fix you up a bit." Working carefully, Taeho cleaned the machine's joints and replaced a damaged wire in its neck. As he worked, he kept talking. "You need a name," he said. "K9 Unit 773 is too formal. How about Dae? It means great in Korean." The robot's tail made a full wag at that. Over the next week, Taeho visited Dae every night. He fixed what he could and talked about everything. Dae became more active, responding to Taeho's voice and following his movements with its sensor panels. Taeho was so focused on Dae that he didn't notice Commander Yoon standing in the doorway until she spoke. "Recruit Kim. What exactly are you doing with that decommissioned unit?" Taeho jumped to his feet. "Commander, I was just cleaning and found it and decided to ignore the restricted area signs." Commander Yoon stepped into the room. She looked at Dae, who had gone. Still again. "That unit is scheduled for disassembly. It failed all its tests." "It's not failed," Taeho said quickly. "It's just different. Look," he turned to Dae. "Hey buddy, it's okay. Show her what you can do." For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then slowly Dae's head lifted. Its sensor panels glowed blue instead of red. It looked at Commander Yoon, then back to Taeho. Its tail gave a small wag. Commander Yoon's eyes widened. "That's impossible. This unit was completely unresponsive to commands during testing." "Not to commands?" Taeho said. "To friendship." He stepped closer to Dae and put his hand on its metal head. "It doesn't want to be programmed. It wants to be a partner." Commander Yoon watched as Dae leaned into Taeho's touch. The machine made a sound almost like a purr. "Interesting," she said finally. "Very interesting." She looked at Taeho with new respect. "Report to my office tomorrow at 0800. Bring your friend. I think we may have discovered something important." As Commander Yoon left, Taeho smiled at Dae. The robot dog's tail wagged happily. "Did you hear that, Dae? We're going to be partners." And in the dim blue light of the research room, a human recruit and a killing machine that wagged its tail began a friendship that would change the Galactic Alliance forever. The next morning, Taeho woke up early. He was too nervous to eat breakfast. At 0730, he went to the research wing to get Dae. The robot dog was waiting for him, sensors glowing bright blue when Taeho entered the room. "Ready to meet the boss, buddy?" Taeho asked. Dae stood up on all four metal legs. His tail moved back and forth. Taeho had fixed most of the dents in Dae's body, but some scratches remained. He wished he had time to polish Dae's metal shell before the meeting. At 0800, exactly, Taeho knocked on Commander Yoon's office door. "Enter," called a firm voice. Commander Yoon sat behind a desk covered with tablets and papers. Her office walls had maps of star systems and pictures of Earth. She looked up when Tai-ho entered, then at Dae, who walked beside him. "So it can walk? Now," she said, raising her eyebrows. "Yes, Commander. I fixed his leg joints." Commander Yoon stood up and walked around her desk. She bent down to look at Dae more closely. "The reports say this unit was completely unresponsive, but it follows you without commands. He responds to me because I talk to him like a friend, not a machine," Tai-ho explained. "He?" Commander Yoon asked. Tai-ho blushed. I named him Dae." To his surprise, Commander Yoon smiled. "That might be exactly what we've been missing." She went back to her desk and picked up a tablet. "Do you know what these K9 units were made for, Kim?" "Combat and reconnaissance, according to the data I saw." "Yes, the Alliance spent millions developing them, based on Earth dogs." She showed him a picture on her tablet of a human police officer with a German shepherd. "The designers tried to copy what makes dogs good partners to humans. But every unit fails field tests. They follow basic commands but don't show initiative or adapt to new situations." Tai-ho looked down at Dae, who sat quietly by his feet. "Maybe they need emotional connection, not just commands. Real dogs bond with their handlers." Commander Yoon nodded. "That's my theory too. And you just proved it might work." She set down her tablet and looked serious. "I'm giving you a new assignment, Recruit Kim. You're now officially the handler for K9 Unit 773. Tai-ho couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Really?" "Yes. You'll train with Dae every day. Show me what he can do with the right partner." She gave him a security card. "This gives you access to Training Room 12. It's small but private. Don't tell the other aliens about this project yet." Tai-ho stood straight and saluted. "Thank you, Commander." As they left the office, Tai-ho felt like his heart might burst with happiness. No more cleaning duties, and Dae was saved from being taken apart. He looked down at the robot dog walking beside him. "We're partners now, officially," he told Dae. The robot's tail wagged faster. Training Room 12 was small, as Commander Yoon had said. It had exercise equipment for humans and a flat open space in the center. Tai-ho spent the first day just learning what Dae could do. The robot dog could run fast, jump high, and had strong jaws that could cut through metal. But what amazed Tai-ho most was how Dae watched him, learning his movements and moods. By the end of the first week, Dae would respond to hand signals and even subtle body language. Tai-ho didn't need to give voice commands. A slight nod or hand movement was enough for Dae to know what Tai-ho wanted. One afternoon, while practicing quick turns and stops, the training room door opened. A young woman with short black hair stepped in. She wore the same uniform as Tai-ho but had a technical badge on her shoulder. "So it's true," she said, looking at Dae. "They're letting a human work with a K9 unit." Tai-ho stood up straight. "I have permission from Commander Yoon." The woman closed the door behind her. "I'm Ji-woo. I work in technical support. We maintain the combat units." She walked closer to look at Dae. "This one was scheduled for disassembly. His name is Dae now," Tai-ho said firmly. Ji-woo raised an eyebrow. "You named it?" Him, not it. And yes. Ji-woo circled around them, studying Dae with expert eyes. "These units cost as much as a small spaceship to build. The Alliance has tried everything to make them work properly." She stopped in front of Tai-ho. "How did you do it?" "I just treated him like a friend, not a machine." Ji-woo looked skeptical. "Show me." Tai-ho spent the next hour showing Ji-woo what he and Dae could do together. They ran through obstacle courses. Dae followed complex movement patterns just from watching Tai-ho's hand signals. Most impressive was when Tai-ho pretended to be hurt, and Dae immediately came to his side, placing himself between Tai-ho and Ji-woo in a protective stance. "That's not in the programming," Ji-woo said, eyes wide. "That's something else." "It's loyalty," Tai-ho said, patting Dae's metal head, something no one thought to program into him. After that day, Ji-woo became their ally. She came often to the training room, bringing new tools and equipment. She helped Tai-ho upgrade Dae's systems and showed him how to access Day's internal diagnostics. The designers made these units too complicated, she explained one day, as they worked on Day's sensor panels. They tried to program every possible action and response. But that's not how real dogs work. Real dogs learn from experience and connection, Taeho agreed. They want to please their humans. Jiwoo looked thoughtful. Maybe that's what the other units need too. She closed the panel on Day's head. I have an idea, but I'll need to talk to Commander Yoon first. 3 days later, Commander Yoon called Taeho to a different training area. This one was much larger. Inside, 5 other human recruits stood in a line. Each had been assigned to maintenance or low-level tasks, just like Taeho had been. These recruits have volunteered for a special project, Commander Yoon explained. She pointed to 5 K9 units standing against the wall, all inactive. We're going to see if your success with Dae can be repeated. Over the next month, Taeho helped train the new human K9 teams. Some pairs connected quickly, others took more time. But all the robot dogs began to show the same signs of bonding that Dee had, responding to their human partners in ways the Alliance engineers never expected. Jiwoo created new testing programs to measure the team's progress. She designed exercises that required trust and communication between human and machine. The results were impressive. Your teams are outperforming our standard combat units by 60%, Commander Yoon told them during a group meeting. High Command is starting to take notice. Not everyone was happy about the project. Some alien officers complained that humans were getting special treatment. Others worried that the K9 units might be dangerous if not properly controlled. One evening, Taeho was working late with Dae when the station alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed in the hallways. Emergency. All personnel to battle stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Taeho looked at Dae, whose sensors had shifted from blue to alert red. Something's wrong, boy. They ran to the command center. People rushed through the halls in panic. When they reached the main level, they found Commander Yoon giving orders to a group of officers. Kim, she called when she saw him. Get your team ready. We have 3 Viridian ships approaching. They've already taken out our outer sensors. Taeho felt his heart race with fear and excitement. Are we deploying the K9 teams? Commander Yoon nodded grimly. We have no choice. Our regular defenses are being jammed. She put a hand on his shoulder. This is what you've been training for. Find Jiwoo and the others. Protect the research wing and evacuate any personnel still there. As Commander Yoon turned away to give more orders, Taeho looked down at Dae. The robot dog stood tall and alert, ready for action. Ready for our first real mission, partner? Taeho asked. Dae's tail gave one strong wag in answer. The bond between them, formed through quiet talks and training sessions, was about to be tested in battle. And the fate of Outpost Sigma 7 might depend on a human recruit and a killing machine that wagged its tail. Alarms blared through Outpost Sigma 7. Red emergency lights flashed in every hallway. Taeho ran with Dae toward the meeting point where the other human K9 teams would gather. They found Jiwoo already there, giving equipment to the other handlers. Take these, she said, handing Taeho a small earpiece and a vest. The earpiece connects you to Commander Yoon and the other teams. The vest has sensors so we can track your location. Taeho put on the vest and earpiece. What about Dae? Jiwoo held up a small blue device. This attaches to his back panel. It will strengthen his armor and boost his sensor range. She knelt down to attach it to Dae, who stood still for her. I've been working on these upgrades for weeks. The other 4 human K9 teams lined up beside them. Each handler wore the same vest as Taeho, and each K9 unit had been fitted with Jiwoo's blue device. Commander Yoon's voice came through their earpieces. We have 3 Viridian attack ships. They've breached our outer defenses. They're boarding. Parties are trying to enter through docking bays 3, 7, and 12. Her voice was calm but urgent. Regular combat units are responding, but Viridians can adapt to standard tactics quickly. Jiwoo brought up a map on her tablet. They're after our research data. The research wing has vital information about Alliance defense systems. That's Where we found Day, Taeho remembered. Exactly, said Jiwoo. Your teams will defend the research wing and evacuate any personnel still there. The Viridians won't expect K9 units with human partners. Use that surprise to your advantage. Commander Yoon's voice returned. Team 1 and 2 take the main entrance. Team 3, cover the emergency exit. Team 4, help with evacuations. Taeho and Dae, I need you to check the restricted labs. That's where our most sensitive research is stored. Taeho felt a wave of fear. The restricted labs were deep in the research wing, far from help if they got in trouble. But he also felt pride that Commander Yoon trusted them with such an important task. We won't let you down, he said. The teams moved out quickly. Taeho and Dae raced through the halls toward the research wing. When they reached the main science area, they found papers scattered on the floor and equipment knocked over. The scientists had left in a hurry. Let's check the restricted labs, Taeho told Dae. The robot dog moved ahead, sensors scanning for danger. They passed through 3 lab sections without trouble. But as they approached the 4th lab, the one where Taeho had first found Dae, the robot dog suddenly stopped. His metal body became rigid and his sensors glowed bright red. What is it, boy? Taeho whispered. Dae's head turned toward a closed storage closet. He made a low mechanical sound, almost like a growl. Someone was hiding in the closet. Taeho pulled out the small stun gun Jiwoo had given him. He had never used a weapon before, not even in training. His hands shook slightly. Come out slowly, he called to the closet. Alliance security. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the closet door burst open. A tall figure leaped out, moving faster than any human could. It had gray skin with blue markings and wore light armor. A Viridian scout. The Viridian held a weapon that Taeho didn't recognize. Before Taeho could react, the alien fired. A blue, energy blast shot toward him. In that split second, Dae moved. The robot dog jumped in front of Taeho, taking the blast on his armored side. The impact made Dae slide backward, bumping into Taeho's legs, but the robot stayed standing. Taeho fired his stun gun. The Viridian dodged with incredible speed and dashed toward a side door. Stop him, Taeho shouted. Dae raced after the Viridian, faster than Taeho had ever seen him move. The robot dog caught up to the alien just as he reached the door. Dae leaped and clamped his metal jaws on the Viridian's arm. The alien cried out in pain and dropped his weapon. Taeho ran forward and picked up the alien weapon. He pointed both guns at the Viridian. Don't move. The alien hissed words in a language Taeho didn't understand. Then in broken English he said, Human with machine dog. Not in our data. There's a lot about us you don't know, Taeho said. He spoke into his earpiece. Commander, we've captured a Viridian in Lab 4. Good work, Commander Yoon replied. Security team is on the way. The Viridian looked at Dae with 6 blinking eyes. Dog machine's broken before, not supposed to work. He's not broken, Taeho said. He just needed the right partner. Security officers arrived and took the Viridian away. Taeho checked Dae for damage from the energy blast. There was a black mark on his side, but the armor had held. Good boy, Taeho said, patting Dae's head. The robot dog's tail wagged. Their earpieces crackled. All teams, came Jiwoo's voice, sounding worried. We have a problem. 2 more Viridians broke into Lab 6. They've taken a scientist hostage. Taeho and Dae hurried to Lab 6. When they arrived, they found Jiwoo and another handler, Minho, hiding behind an overturned table. Across the room, 2 Viridians held a human scientist. One Viridian had a weapon pointed at the scientist's head. They want the access codes to the main database, Jiwoo whispered. The scientist won't give them. Where's Minho's K9? Taeho asked. Damaged. They knew exactly where to hit it. Jiwoo looked grim. These aren't regular soldiers. They're special forces, Taeho thought quickly. The Viridians were watching the main door and the humans behind the table, but they might not notice a smaller target coming from another angle. He leaned close to Dae and whispered, Circle around through the side lab. Wait for my signal. Dae's sensors flickered once to show he understood. The robot dog backed away quietly. moving through a small connecting door to the next lab. "We need to distract them," Taeho told Jiwoo. Jiwoo nodded. She took a small device from her pocket. "This will create a bright flash when I throw it. It won't hurt anyone, but it might blind them for a few seconds." Minho, who had been checking his damaged K9 unit, looked up. "I can get my partner working enough for one charge, just not both of us at once." Taeho saw their chance. "On my mark," he said. He waited until he could see Day's sensors glowing in the doorway behind the Viridians. "Now!" Jiwoo threw her device. It flashed with blinding light. At the same moment, Minho's damaged K9 unit charged forward, drawing the Viridians' attention. From behind, Day burst into the room. He jumped on the Viridian holding the scientist, knocking him to the ground. The scientist broke free and ran toward Taeho. The second Viridian turned to fire at Day, but Taeho was ready. He fired the stun gun, hitting the alien in the shoulder. The Viridian stumbled but didn't fall. "Their armor absorbs stun blasts," Jiwoo shouted. The Viridian raised his weapon, again. But before he could fire, Day did something unexpected. The robot dog's side panel opened and a small disc shot out. The disc hit the Viridian's weapon and attached to it. Sparks flew and the alien dropped the now useless gun. "I didn't know he could do that," Taeho said in amazement. "He couldn't," Jiwoo replied, equally surprised. "He must have adapted his systems based on the situation." Security teams arrived and captured both Viridians. As the fighting died down across the station, reports came in from the other human K9 teams. All had performed beyond expectations. The Viridians, prepared for standard alliance tactics, had been completely surprised by the unpredictable human K9 teams. Commander Yoon found Taeho sitting with Day in a quiet corner after the battle. The robot dog's armor was dented and scratched, but his tail still wagged when he saw the commander. "You did well today," she said to Taeho. "Both of you." She bent down to look at Day. "The Alliance High Command has requested a full report on the human K9 program. They're very interested in your special bond." Taeho placed his hand on Day's warm metal head. "Will they try to figure out how it works? Take Day apart to study him?" Commander Yoon smiled. "No. I told them that would defeat the purpose. The secret isn't in the machine." She put her hand on Taeho's shoulder. "It's in the partnership." As sirens faded and repair crews began their work, Taeho felt a new sense of belonging. He had found his place in the Galactic Alliance, not as just another human recruit, but as the partner of a special robot dog who had proven his worth. Day's tail wagged steadily, his sensors glowing, a peaceful blue in the dimming emergency lights. The battle was over, but their journey together was just beginning. 2 weeks after the Viridian attack, Outpost Sigma 7 had mostly returned to normal. Repair teams fixed the damaged sections. Security patrols were doubled. The captured Viridians were sent to an Alliance prison planet. For Taeho and the other human K9 handlers, everything had changed. They were no longer just recruits doing menial tasks. Now they had their own training facility and quarters. Other aliens on the station looked at them with new respect, and sometimes with curiosity. One morning, Taeho was brushing dust from Day's metal joints when Jiwoo ran into their room. "They're here," she said, out of breath from running. "Who's here?" Taeho asked. "The Alliance High Command. 3 admirals arrived an hour ago. Commander Yoon wants all handlers and K9 units in the main presentation hall in 30 minutes. Taeho felt his stomach tighten with nerves. Why didn't anyone tell us sooner? It was a surprise inspection. They want to see the teams in normal condition, not all polished up. Jiwoo looked at Day. Though a little polish wouldn't hurt. 30 minutes later, Taeho and Day stood with the other teams in the large presentation hall. The room was filled with officers and scientists. At the front, Commander Yoon stood with 3 aliens wearing the gold and silver uniforms of Alliance admirals. The tallest admiral stepped forward. He had green skin and 4 arms. "I am Admiral Zul of the Alliance High Command. We have come to evaluate your human K9 program." His voice sounded cold and official. Taeho noticed how the admiral said, "Your program, not our program." The Alliance still saw this as a human experiment. not an alliance project. Commander Yoon remained calm. "We are ready for any test you wish to conduct, Admiral." Admiral Zul nodded to an aide who brought out a data tablet. "We have prepared 3 tests. First, a standard combat drill. Second, a search and rescue simulation. Third," he paused, "a loyalty test." Taeho glanced at the other handlers. They looked as confused as he felt. What was a loyalty test? The first 2 tests were challenging but not surprising. The human K9 teams had to run obstacle courses, locate hidden objects, and demonstrate combat moves. Day performed perfectly, moving in sync with Taeho's commands, sometimes before Taeho even gave them. The admirals watched with neutral expressions, taking notes on their tablets. For the final test, the handlers were separated from their K9 units. Taeho was led to a small room with a window looking into another room. There, Day sat alone. "Admiral." Zul entered the observation room with Commander Yoon. "This is the loyalty test," he explained. "We will see if these units really have the bond you claim, or if they are just well-programmed machines." The Admiral pressed a button. In Day's room, a panel opened in the wall. A figure stepped out, an alien wearing a copy of Taeho's uniform. The alien looked remarkably similar to Taeho in height and build. "This is a Morphian," Admiral Zul said. "They can take on the appearance of other species. This one has been given recordings of your voice and movement patterns." The Morphian approached Day. "Hello, boy," it said in a perfect copy of Taeho's voice. "Ready for training?" Day didn't move. His sensors flickered between blue and yellow. "Come on, Day," the fake Taeho said. "Let's go." Day stood up slowly. He took one step toward the Morphian, then stopped. His head tilted to one side as if he was confused. The Morphian held out a hand just like Taeho would. "What's wrong, buddy?" "It's me." Day's sensors suddenly changed to bright red. He backed away from the Morphian and made a low mechanical growl. Admiral Zul looked surprised. The unit recognizes the deception, despite perfect visual and audio matching. He turned to Commander Yoon. "How is this possible?" Before she could answer, Day did something unexpected. He walked to the window separating the rooms. Though the window was reflective on his side, he placed his metal head against it, exactly where Taeho stood on the other side. "He knows I'm here," Taeho said quietly. "He can sense me somehow." The Morphian tried once more to approach Day. The robot dog turned and bared his metal teeth, standing protectively in front of the window where Taeho watched. Admiral Zul pressed another button. The Morphian left, and the door to Taeho's room unlocked. "You may rejoin your unit," he said. When Taeho entered Day's room, the robot dog ran to him, tail wagging wildly. Taeho knelt down and hugged Day's metal neck. "Good boy," he whispered. "You knew it wasn't me." The admirals and Commander Yoon entered the room. Admiral Zul studied Day with new interest. "We have tried for years to create machine companions that can identify deception. The best AIs and security systems can be fooled by Morphians. Yet this unit knew instantly." Commander Yoon smiled proudly. "Because K9 units don't just recognize faces or voices or movement patterns. They recognize their partners on a deeper level, one we can't program or explain." "Loyalty," said Taeho, still patting Day's head. "Real loyalty." Later that day, the admirals called all the human K9 teams to the main hall again. Admiral Zul stood before them, his expression now less cold than before. "Based on our observations," he announced, "the Alliance High Command has decided to officially establish the human K9 Corps as a permanent part of our defense forces." A cheer went up from the handlers. Taeho felt a wave of relief and pride. "Furthermore," Admiral Zul continued, "we are authorizing the expansion of the program. 50 more K9 units will be assigned to human handlers. Outpost Sigma 7 will become the training headquarters for this new corps." After the admirals left, Commander Yoon gathered the teams. "This is just the beginning," she told them. "The Alliance has finally recognized what humans can bring to the galaxy. Not just our technology or our strength, but our capacity to form bonds even with machines. That night, Tae-ho sat alone with Day in their new quarters. The room was bigger than before, with a proper bed for Tae-ho and a charging station for Day that looked almost like a dog bed. "We did it, boy," Tae-ho said, scratching behind the sensor panels that served as Day's ears. "From cleaning floors to forming a new core, not bad for a few weeks' work." Day's tail thumped against the floor. His sensors glowed a warm, peaceful blue. "You know, when I volunteered for space service, I thought I'd be alone," Tae-ho continued. "Humans are still new to the Alliance. We don't fit in easily." He smiled. "I never expected to find a friend here, especially not one made of metal." Day rested his head on Tae-ho's knee. The robot dog's internal systems hummed softly, almost like purring. On Tae-ho's desk sat a new badge, a silver emblem showing a human hand and a K9 unit standing side by side. Beneath it were the words, "Human K9 Core, Strength Through Partnership." Tae-ho looked at the badge, then at Day. "Partners," he said softly. Outside their window, the stars of the galaxy shone bright and clear. Somewhere out there, other threats waited. The Viridians would return someday. New enemies might emerge. But Tae-ho wasn't worried anymore. The Alliance had discovered something powerful, the unique bond between humans and their companions, even companions made of circuits and metal. As Tae-ho drifted off to sleep, Day remained awake, guarding his human friend. The robot dog's sophisticated systems monitored the room, the station, the space beyond. To Alliance engineers, Day was an advanced combat unit with cutting-edge technology. But to himself, in whatever way a machine could know itself, he was something simpler and more important. He was a good boy. And his tail wagged gently in the quiet room, keeping watch over the human who had saved him and given him purpose. The galaxy would never be the same, all because of a human recruit and a killing machine that wagged its tail.